amputees.
Why won't God heal amputees? And let me explicate
Right.
on it a bit. This is significant because you can always say, well, God help me overcome cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows if you would have overcome cancer with or without God.
Right.
But to actually have a limb grow back,
Right.
like someone who's,
Right.
they got no leg, it got chopped off in the war, but
Right.
they prayed and now the leg grew back.
Oh, I see
okay,
what you're-
then you'd say, yeah, God's definitely there.
You're looking for tangible, if you pardon the pun, hands-on proof.
Yeah.
You're looking to get a leg up on tangibility.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he do it? I don't know. Teku, I don't have an answer for you. But I can tell you that anyone who suffered, I'm sure ultimately has asked God to help them. And I'd like to think that one way or another he has. And if he hasn't, maybe he will. And after that, I'm just flesh and blood like you, man.
Right. What does trouble you, if anything, about Torah and Judaism?
I'd like to see less division among Jews. I like the fact, I totally like and respect the fact that there are all kinds of different levels, genres, Orthodox, modern Orthodox, conservative, Canadian conservative, American conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist. I'm all for that. I believe it's better that, that Jews believe in God or go to shul or daven or do whatever, what to celebrate, whatever they do, better than not to do it. As a parent, I'm always glad to hear from my kids at any level. I don't like when, one party dismisses the other as not being relevant or not being a child of God or not being someone worthy of learning or living Torah because they're not at their level, be it from Reform going all the way to ultra-Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox all the way to Reform. So I'm a fan of unity.
What are the biggest differences between playing kosher settings like Chabad or Chatsworth and playing Laugh Factory in secular settings?
Well, it's funny, when you play clubs, when you're playing clubs, or if you're playing Vegas or or halls, whatever it is, especially if you're playing like clubs. Like you asked me about the Laugh Factory, for example. When you're playing clubs, you're usually following other comics. When you play Chabad, you're usually following Havdalah. So I would say that's the biggest difference. There's an unspoken reality. I don't swear in my act, either secular or Jewish act. But I definitely understand that when I'm playing a Jewish crowd, especially in a shul or, there are people, usually there's a Torah in the house, if not in the actual room, then under the roof there's a Torah, so you got to be cool about it. And there are people out there who probably don't go to clubs for the reasons that some comics, including myself, would occasionally, exercise the right of free speech, though I not as much as others. I just want to keep everybody comfortable, and professionally to make sure I get asked back too. I wouldn't feel good about doing I don't do blue humor anyway. I guess I do powder blue at best, especially compared to the stuff that I hear. And I'm not knocking those guys. Carlin, I told you, was my favorite. Chris Rock, I think, is brilliant. But having said that, I love the fact Bill Cosby and Seinfeld never swore. I talk about adult themes. I would take that adult theme out if I was playing a religious function. And I'd probably get a little more abrasive if I was playing a club. I find, I play clubs sometimes now, and I find that it'll take a couple of minutes to suck the audience into my headspace of headspace, and not. Sometimes I watch HBO and it's like these FFF every other word, and it's like it's like watching a guy with Tourette's. I'm not knocking the comic at that time. It's their artistic choice and their freedom to do so. My choice to do otherwise.
What do you love and hate about doing stand-up?
I love writing the joke. I love prepping the joke. I love working it out. I love putting monologue, a long routine together, and I love the laughter coming back from the audience that tells me, yes, you were right, that was funny. I love when they leave, they're in a better mood than when they got there. I love the fact that I think that this is sort of, comedy plus time equals tragedy. And I got it wrong that time. It's tragedy plus time equals comedy. But let's go back. What did I just say before? I said comedy plus time.
I love you.
Comedy plus time equals tragedy if your career is sucking. But this is what I'm here for. This is my. Wasn't heavy enough to wrestle professionally. Was a good goalie, but not good enough to play in the NHL. But I did well in Canada and got sponsored to come down to America by an American agent. This is my little bracha that God gave to me, and I love the fact that I'm using it, not just for secular, but for Jewish too, and not just for Jewish people to enjoy Jewish humor, but for Gentiles, for anyone. Like on the album, on Kosher Not Kosher, I purposely put subtitles up there to, solve the mystery, to dispel anything, so that everyone could enjoy it. What do I hate about it? I never enjoyed the travel too much. Thankfully, I do a lot of voiceovers, and that keeps me off the road. Other than that, I didn't mind working any kind of crowd. I didn't like following the FFF. That I didn't go for. I didn't go for that. That bugged me. I didn't like when comics stole from me. I didn't like the jealousy. I didn't like the competitiveness. Not in terms of, competitive in terms of stand-up, in terms of, he had a great set, now you'll have a great set too. I didn't like the bad feeling. There's a lot of jealousy in comedy, and a lot of ill feeling. But if you can get around that, or hang with the guys that are cool, it's a total pleasure.
You never said what I thought you'd say, which is that it's nerve-wracking as hell to get up in front of a group of strangers and try to make them laugh.
I got nervous the first time I ever did an open mic. I got a little nervous before that. Not too much, but I was a little nervous before it. And, I got this great advice the first time I ever played a big hall, a 3,000-seat hall, which is a pretty big hall for comedy. There was an old veteran who said to me, I was playing a club the night before, and the veteran said to me, older guy, he goes, "Hey, you're playing a big hall tomorrow night, huh?" Oh, hang on a second, I have to shout in fact, this might be the old veteran now. You hear what he says? This is better. It's my PR lady who set up this interview. The old veteran. So the old veteran said to me, if you treat this as anything but just another gig, you'll blow it. I think if you treat any gig as anything but just another gig, you'll blow it. Your experience will take over, and you know how to time the laughs better, and how to pace yourself. I had one other time I got nervous. I just remember.
Wait, I didn't understand. If you treat it like any other gig, you will blow it.
Right.
I didn't understand. Unless you treat it as a big deal, you'll blow it. Is that what
if you make what you're doing so big in your mind, if you say to yourself, I'm one guy with one thought, and I've just, and I've got my routine together, and I hope this goes well. Who's out there? What are they going to say? What if there's somebody big out there? What if they don't laugh? What I got to do well? You can't do that. You got to have confidence in your material that you wrote. You got to be able to know that you rehearsed it well enough. You got to be able to know that you're professional enough to go with the flow if something happens, and just let it take over.
So you do treat it like any other gig?
Absolutely.
Okay, you do treat it like any other gig. Okay.
Any other gig. Before, I remember when I came here and I did Evening at the Improv the first time. I remember that was the only time I've ever been really nervous, because I grew up watching that show. And I remember here I was, and the cameras were rolling, and that big light, A&E, Evening of the Improv, and Bud Friedman was there, and I remember before the show, I remember my heart pounding. I remember saying to myself, why didn't you just stay in school? Why didn't you go get a law degree? Why didn't you do what your friends do? Why didn't you? What's wrong with you? And then I hit the stage, and I treated it like any other gig, and it went great. But yeah, that would be the only other time I think. I get more nervous if I'm in shul and the rabbi asks me to do Haftorah. I swear, that's when I'm like, I get nervous then. I'm in my head at that moment sometimes before.
Because they're going to be asking you for donation?